Good morning, this is Oscar. I got a call from my brother concerning a 2000 Chevy Astro Van starting and then stalling. It's starting and stalling. We talked and he did an initial tap on the tank and listened for the fuel pump. So far it appears that that's working. He added 5 gallons of gas. I'm going to get a fuel pump tester right now and then go over there and he and I can do a test on the fuel pump, see if that's the issue, if it's electrical or any relay. We'll take care of a diagnosis today on a 2000 Chevy Astro Van fuel pump test. There's a layman's way to do it is you open the cap, fuel tank cap, and you have one person put their ear on it, and another person goes in and just turns on the ignition, and you can hear the pump up. That's all fine and dandy elementary, but in the long haul, it may be running, but is it producing enough pressure? Is it failing and running but failed, a failed run? So that's what the pressure tester is. I have to look up the specs, but typically on the old carburation systems, it's only 3 to 5 pounds. On a high pressure pump for fuel injection, it's in the area of 50 to 60. I'll double check the specs ASAP. But basically we're doing a diagnosis on the fuel pump or stalling out after a fire up on a 2000 Chevy Astro Van. Let's see what happens. Okay, on my way to Vashon Island to test a fuel pump on an Astro Van. On my way to Vashon. Ticket booth time. Hi again.
Hi.
Going to Vashon.
Have a good day.
Have a good one. Okay, got my tickets to go to Vashon. It looks like it's gonna rain. Yeah, I got rain on the windshield. I'm waiting for that boat. It's gonna rain, so that means it's gonna take a little extra amount of courage or maybe just equipment. I was talking about equipment, basically rain gear. A good country boy is not afraid of a little bit of rain. Rain will not stop a good country boy. And I hope that I'm a pretty good country boy. There it is. Astro Van. Oh boy, I gotta work on this thing. Okay, we took the cowling off to hook up the pressure test for the fuel pump. It turns out the fuel pump is producing pressure. Okay, accomplished the first stage of a Astro Van 2000 starting and then stalling. Okay, update on the 2000 Astro Van. I tested the fuel pressure and then I did a code test and there was no codes. I took the distributor cap off, the rotor, checked for spark coming into the distributor and going out, and we have spark. But it fires up and then it stalls. So we've done 3 different investigations, fuel pump, and I have to figure out how to tell if it's the pickup coil or the inductive coil. And I've got to do some more research. So phase 1, completed the test on the fuel pump, tested for codes, and cleaned up and tested the coil. But I did not determine the pickup coil, the inductive coil, whether it's working, although the spark plug showed it was working. And I'm gonna do some research this week on what might be wrong. It fires up and then stalls right away. Fires up, stalls right away. Okay, 2000 Astro Van. right, listen up. Hear that? It starts up and then it dies. And there's no indicator lights and no codes. So it fires up, dies all the time. And there's no codes, there's no problem with the fuel pump, and there's no problem with spark. It looked a little bit weak on the spark plug end of it, but it shows it's working because it's firing up, so something is shutting it down. And the fuel system apparently seems to be pretty okay because we're getting 50, 60 pounds, 55 to 60 pounds. Okay, phase 1 over. Diagnoses have not found the problem. Plan B. All right, 2000 Astro Van, diagnoses, unable to detect the problem. I think it's a pickup coil, inductive pickup, but it looks like we're getting a little bit of spark at the spark plug, and from the coil to the distributor we're getting spark. So I think the distributor's a little weak, even though we took all the parts out and cleaned them. I'm not happy with the amount of spark coming off of the spark plug. This is Oscar. We're done testing the van. We tested 3 problems. It was not the problems. One was the fuel pump pressure. I got a gauge earlier this morning. We're testing the fuel pump pressure. We hooked that up. It turns out the fuel pump's working fine. And then I got a tester to diagnose engine codes from Vashon Auto Parts, and was able to do some testing, but they didn't show any defect codes. And checked out the distributor, the coil for spark. Everything seemed to be working fine. So now we've eliminated 3 big important problems, and I have to go through and determine what might be the next detail, because it's going to be 2 weeks before she gets it in the shop. So finishing up right now with putting some tools and parts away, and then we'll get me ready to go here in a little bit.